Hello all, welcome to another quick learning. Today we're going back to Codecademy to work on the Python tutorials. So here we go. So I'm going to resume. If you're joining this in the middle of the series, that's okay. I'll put a link down below to the first video. So if you want to start there, go ahead. But now we're going to get started here. So we're going to do taking a vacation. Before we begin, let's quickly review functions in Python. Okay. In the example above, we define a function called bigger. So here we got, this is just defining a function. This is the name of the function, bigger, that has two arguments called first and second. So those are the arguments. Then we print out the larger of the two arguments using the built-in function max. So they're printing the bigger ones and returning true from that function. Now try creating a function yourself. Okay, write a function called answer. So we do def to define the function that takes no arguments and returns the value 42. So you need the colon at the end there, and they want us to return 42. And it's indented for the function. We run that, and that is correct. All right, planning your trip. When planning a vacation, it's important to know exactly how much you're going to spend. The above example is just a refresher on how functions are defined. So they're defining a wages function that you put in hours, and it returns 8.35 times hours. So you're making $3.85 per hour. Define a function, okay, called hotel cost. And it has one argument, nights. We need a colon at the end there. The hotel costs $140 per night, so the hotel function should return 140 times nights. Okay, we're going to return 140 times nights. Pretty simple. And there we go. Getting there, you're going to need to take a plane ride to get to your location. All right, the example above defines the function fruit color that accepts a string as the argument fruit. Okay, the function returns a string if it knows the color of that fruit. So it's got an if statement, so if the fruit is apple, then it returns red, else it'll look at whether the fruit is banana and return yellow, and then lastly it'll look if it's a pear and return green, and otherwise it will return nothing. Below your existing code, define a function called plane ride cost. All right, plane ride cost. And that takes a string city as input. You need the colon at the end. Function should return a different price depending on the location, similar to the code example above. Below are the valid destinations and their corresponding round trip prices. Okay. So we're going to put an if statement, and we're going to do if city. We need two equals because we're looking at whether that equals something. We're not assigning it a value. So if it equals Charlotte, let's make sure the capitalization is correct. Then we're going to return, sorry, I forgot the colon. We're going to return 183. Else if city equals Tampa, we're going to return 220. If city equals Pittsburgh, then we're going to return 222. And the last if city equals Los Angeles, we're going to return 475. Okay, let's run that, see that it's correct. And it is. All right. Transportation, you're also going to need a rental car in order for you to get around. In the above example, we first give the player 10 tickets for every point that the player scored, then we check the value of score multiple times. So it takes in the argument of score, multiplies that by 10 to get the number of tickets, and then it looks if it's greater than or equal to 10, it increases the tickets by 50. Else, if it's greater than or equal to 7, it increases by 20, or else it just returns the ticket value. Remember that an elif statement is only checked if all preceding if-elif statements fail. Okay. Below your existing code, so we're putting in another function. Sorry. There we go. We're doing a rental car cost, and we're giving it the argument of days. Calculate the cost of renting the car. Every day you rent the car costs $40. So cost equals days times 40. If you rent the car for 7 or more days, you get $50 off your total. Okay. If days is greater than or equal to 7, cost minus equals 50. Sorry, I should put this on a different line here. And then elif eternal. Alternatively, if you rent the car for 3 or more days, you get $20 off. So days greater than or equal to 20. Cost is that minus 20. All right. You cannot get both of the above discounts. Otherwise, we're just going to return the cost. Just like in the example above, this check becomes simpler if you use the 7-day check, an if statement, and the 3-day check, elif statement. Okay. Why did I put 20 there? Okay, this is a mistake. So this should be 3. Okay. So you have to do it in this order, 7 and then 3, because if you do the 3 first, it'll just evaluate this one and exit out the if statement. So you have to do it in this order. That's correct. Pull it together. Great. Now that you've got 3 main costs figured out, let's put them together in order to find the total cost of your trip. So we define 2 simple functions, double N and triple P, that return 2 times or 3 times their input. Notice that they have N and P as their arguments. Okay. So yeah. And then the add is just taking those and adding them up. Okay. Below your existing code, define a function called trip cost that takes 2 parameters, city, comma, days, and returns the sum of calling the rental car cost days, hotel cost days minus 1, and plane ride cost city functions. Okay, so we're going to put a colon, and we're going to return the rental cost, rental car cost, and we're going to return days. Then we go plus hotel cost days minus 1, because the number of nights you stay is the days minus 1, and then plus the plane ride cost, and we're going to put city in there. And it looks correct. Notice that we changed the argument for hotel cost from nights to day minus 1. Since we want trip cost to only depend on 2 parameters, We have to convert the variable nights into days, etc. Okay. Raised an error. Global name rental car cost is not defined. Oh, I put rent car cost. Rental car cost. There we go. Hey, you never know. You can't expect to only spend money on the plane ride, hotel, and rental car when you're going on a vacation. There also needs to be room for additional costs like fancy food or souvenirs. Modify your trip cost function definition, add a third argument, spending money. Modify what the trip cost function does and add the variable spending money to the sum that it returns. Okay, so we're just going to add another argument here, spending money, sorry. And we're just going to add that to the end of this. That's what they were looking for. Plan your trip nice work. Now that we have it all together, let's take a trip. What if we went to Los Angeles for 5 days and brought an extra $600 of spending money? After your previous code, print out the trip cost to Los Angeles for 5 days with an extra $600 of spending money. Don't forget the closing parenthesis after passing in the 3 values. I won't forget it, possibly. So we're going to do print. We're going to do trip cost. So we're going to call this function here. We're going to give it Los Angeles for the city. We're going to give it 5 days. And we're giving it an extra $600 for spending money. And we'll run that. And that's $1,850. So let's just show how that's calculated. So it's going to call this trip cost function. So it's going to go here. It's going to return rental car cost days. So it's going to call this function. It's going to pass in the 5 days. So it's going to do 40 times 5, which is 200, sorry. It's going to look at this. That's not true. So it's going to go to the next elif. It's going to say it's greater than 3 days. So it's going to subtract 20 from that. So that's 180 for the rental car cost. And then it's going to do the hotel cost, which is with days minus 1. So days minus 1, so that's 4 times 140. Let's see. I could probably do that in my head, but I might get it wrong. 4 times 140, so 560 plus the 180 gives us 740. And then it's going to go to the plane ride cost and with the argument city. So it's going to look at this function here for plane ride costs. And it's going to go, nope, not Charlotte, not Tampa, not Pittsburgh. Yes, the city is Los Angeles, so it's going to return 475. So it's going to add 475. And then it's going to add the 600 extra that we put for spending money. And somehow I did that, but it does turn out to be 1815. Somehow I screwed up with the calculator, but that's how it works. All right, thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys were able to follow along, and I was able to help you learn a little bit faster than you would have on your own. Thank you very much.